You know what I'm saying, baby? This just in. We're gonna be going over allegedly Lil Durk and THF BAYZOO sending 100 shots at QUANDO, RONDO, Lil TIMM and them. So it seemed at that point, having faced virtually no consequences personally for killing King Von, QUANDO Rondo was getting more and more confident, insulting King Von and Durk in his music, capitalizing on the situation. However, all of this was going on while his main shooter and protector, the man who had taken King Von's life to protect QUANDO in the first place, Lil TIMM, was still behind bars. After being arrested months after the Von killing, Tim spent months locked up waiting for an update on his case. And during that period, Tim would call home from jail seemingly in good spirits, asking to be sent money from QUANDO Rondo, all the while being supported by Rondo on the outside. And while Tim was locked up, QUANDO would continue to post support for Tim online, saying that he would rather say free Tim rather than RIP Tim, indicating that he was still facing legal consequences for the shooting of King Von. As the months went by, pictures of Tim in jail would circulate online. A January 2021 image showed Lil Tim using a jail phone and smiling with his diamond grill shining. Baby. Eventually, Lil Tim would be released on bail with Jump Out Gang, Black, and Lil Pop celebrating their release of their 33rd Street brother on Instagram and Twitter. Then on March 27, 2021, Lil Tim's name would begin trending on Twitter as news of his release on bail spreads, with QUANDO even posting on Instagram, "God is hope," then later posting a clip of them celebrating, throwing a bunch of cash in the air, baby. It was going down. However, Tim and QUANDO Rondo's rivals would still be watching their every move, as Lil Durk and Memo 600 would like the picture along with NBA Youngboy's biggest enemy, Fredo Bang. However, this pressure didn't stop Tim from showing his face. Soon after his release, Tim would go live on Instagram, but not saying anything. But as time goes by, he would get more and more brazen and find subtle ways to disrespect his enemies. For example, the months before King Von's killed, in October 2020, King Von's ex-girlfriend, Asian Doll, would tweet publicly saying that she only dates killers with 3 bodies or more. Perhaps this was only a reference to the fact that when she split up with Von, she allegedly spent time getting close to NBA Youngboy, who just like Von had a reputation synonymous with killing. And since we all know that Asian Doll loves to date killers, after being released, Lil Tim would hop on social media and shoot his shot, saying openly, "Somebody tell Asian Doll I want her. I heard she only dates killers." The following month, on April 12, 2021, QUANDO Rondo posted on Instagram that he has bought matching iced out Cartier watches for him and Tim. This is perhaps a reference to earlier lyrics and tweets where QUANDO raps that he will give a Rolex to anybody who kills an op, with Lil Tim tweeting back saying that he wants to find out if this was true. But anyway, despite all the apparent disrespect coming out of 33rd Street, eventually QUANDO Rondo would break his silence about his involvement in the situation that claimed King Von's life. In an extended interview with Angela Yee speaking on the situation, QUANDO would break down the events in a much more respectful tone. That in his earlier song with QUANDO, saying that before the fight broke out, he thought King Von's entourage were a group of regular people, and saying that he was just trying to let them walk past casually, being surprised when he was suddenly sucker punched by Von. QUANDO would say that the whole incident felt like an out-of-body experience. Durk would later troll these comments by QUANDO in his own interview, where he told Ebro that he wanted his concert to be like an out-of-body experience. Quando would also claim that the moment that Vaughn came over and started the fight, he felt like the devil was coming to get him, baby. He would also say that he prayed when those gunshots went off. Quando was adamant that he didn't even know it was King Vaughn he had been fighting with until the next day. This was a neighborhood crip, man. Despite this attempt at a diplomatic interview, it would seem that the damage had already been done. Having spent months mocking King Vaughn after his death and making light of the situation, a $1 million bounty had been placed on his head. Quando Rondo would remain in danger, and from there, he would have to defend himself against a wave of attempts on his life, baby. And those people who loved King Vaughn would seemingly be on the hunt from state to state, baby, with just one objective in mind: slide for Vaughn. It was close to a half a year since that fateful night when King Vaughn lost his life trying to fight Quando Rondo. The moment Quando's close friend Little Tim pulled the trigger, he set in motion a chain of events that would change their lives forever. With King Vaughn being one of Chicago drill's most feared killers, as well as a popular rapper, this meant that Quando Rondo, Little Tim, and everyone around them would have to defend against wave after wave of assassination attempts, all seemingly connected to the slain Chicago rapper. On April the 16th, 2021, Quando Rondo denied being shot at and told the world that he rides in a bulletproof truck. That same month, Quando's latest concert is announced on May the 1st, 2021 in Waycross, Georgia. After having his previous shows that were scheduled just weeks after King Vaughn's death canceled, Quando was eager to show his fans and ops and the world at large that he could travel the country and perform without incident. However, unfortunately for Quando, that simply wasn't true. On May the 1st, 2021, Quando Rondo plays the very show that he was booked to perform at in Waycross, Georgia. And here he's seen playing to an empty venue, complaining to the crowd that his shows are usually bigger than this, with Quando addressing the fans and still thanking them for coming out despite the low turnout. When these images and clips surfaced, Chicago affiliates of Vaughn and Dirk, like Nemo 600, would mock Quando, saying that he must have made a loss on that show. But as the night went on, that show's turnout would be the least of Quando's worries, as him and his entourage would leave the venue after performing, driving to a Circle K gas station just 11 minutes away in the next town of Blackshear. At around 3:20 a.m. after the show, Quando and his team would be in the parking lot of a gas station convenience store in Blackshear, Georgia. Soon after arriving, somebody began to open fire across the road, with one man allegedly being hit in the hand and ending up in the hospital. Quando Rondo would flee the scene before authorities arrived. According to one report, over 100 bullets were fired at Quando's entourage during the incident. However, members of the public would arrive to the crime scene and begin filming and posting the footage on social media, with the woman filming telling viewers that she was on the scene of the Quando shooting and saying that people had heard the gunshots from all the way down the street. And she would even walk right up to the bullet markers where the shell casings had apparently been fired from all the way up the street. Oh my God. It was unclear who exactly was responsible for the shooting. Quando's ops from Savannah, the gang SK8, or the Section 8 kids, would post seemingly referencing the incident with the caption saying, "Get Back Gang," which, if you didn't know, is actually another name for King Vaughn's gang, along with the audio from Little Durk's song Hellcats and Trackhawks. That earlier song where Dirk says that he's looking to catch somebody lacking at their show Now it's unclear whether S8K members, were taking direct responsibility for the incident or simply celebrating a hit sent from Dirk or Von's crew Get Back Gang. However, a black disciple from Georgia seemingly claimed responsibility for this hit on social media, leading people to believe again that this was a hit affiliated with Lil Durk. Naturally, due to his extensive affiliations with the Black Disciple Street Gang, of which King Von was indeed a prominent member. Lil Pop also tweeted after this incident, brushing off the shooting and telling his ops to enjoy their life and not let one person stress them out so much, and going on to post a picture of himself alive and well. You know what I'm saying? The following day, QUANDO Rondo would seemingly address the threats against his life in a later interview, also brushing off the danger, saying that he doesn't care about death threats but regardless, it was clear that QUANDO and Lil Tim were continuing to pay the price for this beef with King Von, but that didn't stop QUANDO from continuing to push his career forward. On May the 7th, 2021, QUANDO released his 6th mixtape, Still Taking Risks, his first full-length release since the killing of King Von. And this project would be laced with references to the incident as well as the consequences. QUANDO would rap about having $1 million bounty on his head and the opening track, Blue Man. He would also mock King Von on tracks like Red Eye, saying that he's smoking a dead guy and catching homicides with Timmy. There's also a line on that track where he says that he's signed to NBA and rapping, if he loves that girl, make sure he never sees her again. Seemingly a reference to King Von essentially dying as a result of his girlfriend Asian Doll, creating a love triangle between King Von and Youngboy, with QUANDO going on to disrespect King Von's crew, Get Back Gang, saying there ain't no get backs. QUANDO also says that he has shooters doing murders for only $1,500, and that he wants to kill all of his ops one by one until he gets to the top dog. Perhaps another reference to a desire to take out Lil Durk himself, as he depicted in his music video for the song Soul Reaper. And QUANDO even ends this song by mocking Lil Durk for linking up with Youngboy's enemies like Fredo Bang, as well as saying that Lil Tim got out of jail and got straight back to shooting, Even mocking Von, saying that Timmy busted Von's head because he got caught without a gun. There's also a song dropped somewhere where QUANDO reiterates that he doesn't even realize that it was a beef with Von that night he got shot, and saying that he has bullets for a wrestler, another reference to Von trying to fight the night he got killed. QUANDO also raps saying that his youngins is quick to make a rapper bleed. Elsewhere on the track, Devil on My Shoulder, he shouts out Timmy, saying he will shoot for him. But perhaps most notably was the track Purple Baby, the song where QUANDO extensively disses his dead enemies from Savannah, Georgia, repeating a chorus that had lyrics saying that he was smoking purple babies, a reference to the gang's 1100 block and VBS, the Village Boy, and specifically the deceased members, he and Honcho Reese, who lost their lives amid a deadly beef with Rondo's 60 crew, OTM, or Only the Mob, aka Jump Out Gang. This crew that QUANDO and Tim have been representing all those years. QUANDO also referenced the beef with Lil Durk in the hook of this song, saying that this song is for the ones who put money on his head and that they're going to murk them. A suggestion that QUANDO and his people are trying to take out the people who are putting money on their heads before they get a chance to kill them. That would be followed by a lyric saying that they were smoking on their new dead homie, which of course is a reference to Von. This track also had lyrics about Jump Out Gang, jumping out and shooting, as well as lyrics attempting to discredit the street reputation of Chicago's gangs, with QUANDO Rondo rapping that his ops think that they're the only killers in America, man. Again, referencing the fight with Vaughn, saying that he's not wrestling, just shooting. Even referencing Little Reese's earlier Twitter beef with him saying his ops wanted smoke until he killed their friend, man. Ultimately ending the song saying all the smokes is dead ops and free Little Tim, man. Elsewhere on the song, OK, QUANDO says that the night King Von died, man, made him sick, and reflecting on the trauma of seeing his friend Timmy split open after being shot. On the track Still Doing Wrong, he says that they had no choice but to kill King Von, but to this day, he still doesn't know what he did to upset him. And then finally on the track Stand On It, QUANDO would taunt Lil Durk and Chicago rappers who keep saying they're going to kill him, saying that they better stand on that statement, mocking his rivals and questioning why they think they're the only shooters out here, man. Introducing his team of shooters as Jump Out Gang, man, and saying that they're the ones who put people on the news, baby. Still Taking Risk was a bold project from QUANDO Rondo that made a big statement, man. And in spite of the shooting after his concert at Waycross, QUANDO was still planning on disrespecting his enemies. And QUANDO wasn't the only one who wasn't scared of the Chicago hitters, hell-bent on taking them out because of Little Tim, would also share the same sentiment. QUANDO went live on the 8th of May 2021 with Little Tim expressing frustration at their ops and saying that they're smoking Purple Baby and their other ops, and saying that people are trying to blackball them from the music industry. King Von got famous off of rapping about people he killed, and it turns out karma gave him the same thing.